up? It's your boy Bodyguard back again for another post, y'all. Today I am here for another episode of Dallas Spotlight, and y'all know how it goes, right? We find some of the most affluent people in the area, right? And we give them a platform to talk on. So today I am joined by a new friend of mine. I got the chance to sit down and talk to this guy for a little while, and I said, you know what? I think people might need to hear what you got to say, especially because in today's day and age, we tend to not really take care of ourselves in a manner that is, I guess I would say, conducive to the way others do in a specific space, right? So I'm going to give Mr. Ken Allen an opportunity to talk to you guys about something that you really might want to take a serious look at, all right? And introducing here on Dallas Spotlight for the first time, I have Mr. Ken Allen with Ken Allen Insurance. All right, guys. All right, Mr. Ken. How we doing today?
I'm wonderful. Couldn't be better.
Okay, cool. All right. So I remember earlier when we first jumped in and, you walked through the door and we started talking about insurance. I feel like when you love something, it's always on the forefront of your mind, right? It's
Yes, sir.
It's always something that you want to talk about, So tell us a little bit about how long you've been doing this insurance and how long you've been, in the game. Because I know that's not really an easy game to get into. I hear it's testing and all kind of stuff you got to go through to get in.
Oh, most definitely. Okay, so I've been doing insurance for 24 years, but it's a family-owned, operated business. The business started in July of 1989 from my father, which is Ken Allen Sr. So that's where the name Ken Allen Insurance comes from. It started with my father, so from there, that was the generation that was laid. So, 1989, I was 8 years old, so I wasn't a part of the business at the time it was introduced to Dallas. But here I am now. I'm 45 years old. I've been doing this for 24 years, and this is something that, you're correct, it's not something that it's easy to do, because one thing with insurance, a lot of people don't understand the importance of it, and some people look at it as if the need is not important. So one thing that we do with Ken Allen Insurance, we make sure that you understand the importance of insurance, the need of it, the necessities, and everything that comes with insurance, from liability to commercial to personal to life to investments. So that's one thing that I am proud to hold dear to my heart, for what my father has passed down to myself, to start and keep something in the family that will benefit the community as well as my family also.
Right. And community is very, very, very important. I think a lot of the times we overlook community. I seem to remember earlier today when we were talking about not necessarily giving each other an opportunity to get their start.
Right.
Being in a place of control, or what we say a position of power, sometimes some of us get drunk with it.
Correct.
So do you want to talk to us a little bit about your walk and getting into your position and
Oh, yes, sir.
how you built this? Because I think that's something that all young boys need to hear.
Okay, so my journey may be a little different than from the average insurance agent. I never wanted to be in insurance. My father started this, and this is something that the family was able to benefit off of, but I've always wanted to be the one who start my own path or lay my own foundation for what I do. I appreciate what my father did, but I was a sports athlete. So I had the idea of, like everybody who plays sport, who actually get the opportunity to play beyond high school. So mine was more of, I want to go into some type of sport aspect if I don't make it to the highest level of professional. But I also didn't want to be the person who wanted to carry that dream on, and 10, 15 years after high school, I'm still holding on to something that I did that's really in the past. So I saw my journey early that maybe sports wasn't going to be my finance tool providing for myself. So what I did was I went out and, like anyone else who wants to make money and maybe start your own, I went out and found a job. Learned quickly that was not for me. And what I mean by that is I'm a fair person, and I've always given everyone an opportunity, but the problem that I had with working with corporate America was the title that people have that is abused. And one thing I wasn't understanding was because you have a title, you don't treat people a certain way. So I learned very quickly that this is not for me. So what I did was I called my father and I asked my father to work for him, which first I was rejected. And understandably so that I'm in it now why I was rejected. But with perseverance and being consistent and showing him that, give me the opportunity and let me show you what I can do. So my opportunity was I have to find a way to get in the door. And the reason I can work for my father, I felt will benefit me because I've been taking orders from him my whole life. So it's easy to understand where he come from because after so long, I've been able to tune my father out, whether it's fussing or speaking to me when he sees I'm not doing right. I was able to move forward without it hitting me personally, like as if I work with a job or a corporation. So when what I was trying to do was, like I said, I wanted to get a foot in the door. So when I started with Ken Allen Insurance Agency, I was a fowler. And I'm not even sure that's a job title. But that's what I was introduced when I first started at the business. And like anybody else, I'm sure you will get into your feelings on that because you feel like if your parent starts a business, it's something for you to take over. But at the time, I didn't see what my father was doing. And what he was doing was wanted me to prove to him that I wanted the opportunity to take, not be given to me. So it took about 2 weeks for me to understand, what I need to do. Once I was out of my feelings, I understood what I can do. My foot is in the door now. And from there, it moved up gradually. So I went from fouling after I finished the fouling to pretty much the errand boy. And, it still wasn't something I was proud of, but hey, I'm in the door. Let's figure it out. And I remember one day, because I was only working part-time also, so I wasn't working full-time. So at the time, my father told me that I would need to still find a job, even though I was in the door. But my mind thinks differently. I'm in the door. I'm not looking for a job. So what I would do, and this was pretty much maybe about a month, and he would ask me where would I go to find interviews or applications. And I never went to one job, but I gave him 1 million companies that I interviewed with. And the way I got my opportunity where it was permanent, and this is strange because a lot of people probably this doesn't happen. I was typing a resume, and my father asked, who is that typing? And he had an office manager at the time, and she told him who it was, which was myself, and he brought me in his office. He said, you can type? I said, sir, well, Father, I can do a lot. Just the opportunity hasn't been presented to me, so I can't show you what I can do. So I became the secretary, and at that point, that's when it all pretty much came together where I put into myself where if I learn this business, one day I can be my father. And 24 years later, here I am, basically taking over the business and implementing my own thoughts and idea into something my father laid. So, like I said, the journey was not, it wasn't something that I wanted to do, but you also have to look at your life in a way as if, what are you going to do? Because if you sit around twiddling your thumbs, you're wasting time.
Right.
And I don't have the time to waste. I had to figure out. I had a son who was born, so at that point now life is real.
Right.
So now I'm not living for myself. And if I want to get something, I was always taught, you have to go take it.
Right.
Nothing is given to you. and what we are a black business, and a lot of black men and a lot of black people should understand where I'm coming from. Nothing is handed to us.
Right. And ain't nobody coming to your rescue.
Not at all. So especially in the business that I'm in, we're the minority.
Right.
So what we have to do is basically show that we belong here. And I have no problem with that, because one thing I will do, and I teach my children this, is if you don't bet on yourself, who would you bet on? And betting on myself, basically, I'm going to go all in, because one thing I also understand too is failing is not
an option.
It's not an option, but it is also part of business as well. And
right.
One thing with failing, it teaches you is how to learn not to make that same mistake.
Right.
And the way I look at failure is if you don't do it again.
Right.
That's when you fail. But
right.
If you get back up and you keep trying, I'm not going to fail. Because
right.
like my father always told me this, and I'm pretty sure a lot of millionaires probably live by this. You only have to get it right one time.
Right.
You can fail 1,000,000 times. If you get it right one time, that's all it takes.
Right.
So that's where I am, just this one time. I need that one opportunity. The journey has not been easy. My father retired 2 years ago, and this is my second year where I'm running the agency by myself. So now I'm building my own staff. I'm paving my own way. I'm building my own road into where I want the business to go and grow. But like I said, it's one of those day-by-day things that we go through, but it's life. But one thing I am happy for the opportunity is where we're going with it. Because right now where we're going, we're in a place where opportunities are flowing to the business. And, as long as you do right, God will bless you, and he'll make sure that, the blessing will come. So we stay 10-toe down. We work hard. We educate ourselves with what we're doing, because this is a business where you don't know everything. And you can be doing this, I'm sure, 50 years, and there's still something you will learn every day. So, like I said, the journey wasn't easy, but where I am now, I am thankful where I am and where we're going. Man, the opportunity is limitless. So, I'm happy every day I wake up. I get to go to work. I make my own hours, and I still have the time to balance with work and family. So I can't be mad at where I am right now. Like I said, I'm proud of where we are, and I'm also proud of where we about to go. So Ken Allen Insurance Agency, I want everybody to get used to it, because this name is not going nowhere. Every day we're working hard to build. So the generation has been laid. We're just sustaining right now.
Right. And one of the things that I heard you talk about earlier that I think is very, very important, the perseverance, or the ability to not quit even in the face of failure.
Yes,
right.
Sir.
I really think that you're absolutely right. Failure is what happens when you give up. Right. Now, of course, I am always willing to understand that there are some situations where you run into a task that is just insurmountable. You can't really just, you don't have the knowledge, or you don't have the skills, or, some things you got to know when to stop, right? But when it comes to growth and building, you got to understand that you're going to come into situations that you don't particularly enjoy, or it wasn't really the scope of the plan that you put together, right? And it's how you bounce back from those that gives you an opportunity to keep going. And I think that was the Shark Tank that I heard that on, where they were saying, it's like, all you got to do is get it right once,
right?
Because I don't think a lot of people understand what it means when people say that,
right?
Because you see people get it right and then they stop, you know what I'm saying? Or they get it right and then they're like, okay, well, I've done it now. Like, no, that's when the work starts.
Exactly.
Right. It's like the equivalent of putting your key in the ignition, right? Once you start that car, you still got the drive, player.
Most definitely.
It
right.
is what it is. Like
It
you
is,
can't.
most definitely.
Right. You can't. There's no way that you could just, unless you in one of them self-driving cars, and good luck to you, because I've been seeing
I'm
all
not
kinds of
comfortable with that
craziness.
anyway.
But yeah, you got to put yourself in the best position to win, and that's finding out what path you are supposed to be on. Put that rubber to the road, and then drive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just end at the start.
Right. Correct.
So if you had to give a few qualities, because I know you said you started out with filing papers. You started out in the back office.
I'm in the back. I'm not visible at all.
Right. So that's one of those situations where it's like, the growth is something that you should absolutely be proud of.
Right.
That's something that it's a property, and I'm and getting a chance to meet your son. I'm glad to see that you aren't afraid to talk to him and give him some of those properties that you built up. Because I know it's a lot of situations where some of us fathers get discouraged, and we feel like it's hard to talk to our kids, or the state is telling us we're not allowed to say certain things to our kids, or risk weird charges or stupidity or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Right. But, being a man is understanding how to toe the line in raising your children, and understanding that at the end of the day, all they got is you.
Right.
Like I told you guys earlier, yesterday, me and my father, because we go DJ with him all the time, right? I go DJ with him all the time. But yesterday was one of the first times that he, got to come out and help me with my filming.
They get to see your craft now.
Right. And he's, that was one of the things that he was telling me on the way home, is he was like, I'm proud that I got to see your grind.
Right.
So that's some fathers don't get the opportunity to do that. Some fathers don't even get the chance to stay alive long enough to see that, or they have weird circumstances that keep them out. So
right.
It is what it is. But yeah.
I want to. I don't mean to cut you. I want to piggyback on what you're saying about the father, and being a father and having children, and like I said, me bringing my son in. Like I said, being a father, I believe that's something you have to stand up to, and you have to want to be a father. We all understand how to make children, but being a father is you want to be able to give your children something that they can believe in, hope. You want to be able to let them understand that, with working hard, perseverance, and believing in whatever you set your mind to, that it will turn into fruition. And like I said, I have two sons. I have an 18-year-old and I have a 10-year-old. And I pride myself every day I wake up to make sure that what I do, I'm being first of all, is a leader with something that they can understand, that this is what I'm building them to be, to basically to lead and have your own. So when you take pride in what you do, especially being a father, it helps you. It helps you with your day-to-day operations. It helps you with your day-to-day life. And then when you do it genuinely, the love that's returned, the affection that's returned, it's genuine. So when you see your children proud of you because of something that you're doing, it makes you want to work harder. I'm gonna use this. My oldest son, he's here with me today. We went out one day, and we had our own little day out, whatever. And he got home, and I was out, and I had a meeting. I had a dinner meeting, and he had texted me, and he said, "Dad, I'm proud of you." And that was out of nowhere. That was nothing that I've done, that we were speaking about. Like I said, we went out and had a day where we just enjoyed ourselves. And I asked him why. Because, it feels good to hear it, but I wanted to know, where did it come from? And he told me that basically the way you're moving, what you're doing, I'm proud of what you're doing and what you're showing. And that was just something that basically just, like saying, it's something that we don't have to do. There's a consequence with it, but you don't have to be involved. But when you are involved and then the appreciation comes, it just makes life a little bit easier. And then it makes you want to work a little bit harder because you want to show them that, like I said, if you believe in it, it'll work. And you also want to show them that this is what you can do, or this is what you're going to do when you start your own family, because eventually that's going to happen. And if you don't have any structure, any direction, that's when it comes where the kids, I guess in our community, they're called YNs. That's where they come from because of there's no leadership, there's no structure, and they're trying to figure out something, this game that's called life, that doesn't come with a manual or a handbook. So when you try to figure out life on your own, man, that's a hard game to play.
Right.
Life within itself is hard for myself. But I understand what comes with it. But when you're a teenager and no one has taught you or showed you, which is a lot of kids don't have. They just don't have, an example. A positive example, I would say that. There are examples, but you want somebody who's positive that can influence you in a positive way where you can basically, like I said, it all goes back to whatever you put in your mind. Whatever you think, you basically you can accomplish it. So that's why, like I said, that's why I want to talk to, I guess, kind of just add on to that. Being a father is just one of those things that, I take pride in this.
Right.
I take pride in being a father. I take pride in being a man of my house. I take pride in being a husband. Take pride in being a son, a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a friend. I take pride in, if you know me, you basically are in my family. Right. So I take pride in every relationship I have within my family. So, right. And like I said, and it's reciprocated. So the love is given back. So when you feel it, man, it makes that dream closer to reality.
Right. It's like I always tell people when I sit down and we have a talk about relationships. Right. And I always try to get people to understand that when it comes to relationships, there are specific roles that are already outlined. Right. It's been happening since the dawning of time. This is not something that we're making up. It's not something that we throwing in the pot just to bolster the strength of our arguments. No, this is the way that the world has been running forever and a day. Right. And one thing's for sure, two things we know. Right. A man's supposed to protect and provide.
Correct.
Right. That's how all men measure themselves up. It's how all men will be judged at the end of their days. Was he able to protect and provide for his family? That is the measurement of that man. Now, most people think that just protecting is all about the physical aspect of it. But that's not true. There are many aspects to a person that a man is actually charged with guarding against, right? There are certain knowledges that you have to pass on, certain traditions that you have to pass on. There are certain dangers that you have to make your children aware of. There are quite a few things out there that goes into what we call being a man, right? And I hate sometimes when we take a look at what these guys call themselves, high value men or whatever they, like I hate that term. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense because I understand that different people have different needs. Right. So what's valuable to one person ain't gonna be valuable to the next.
Right.
It's just not. It's not a catch-all, be-all type of situation. Right. So when I hear people say that, most times they put the emphasis on the money, right? It does take some money, right?
Yes.
But it's not as important as most people would think. Right. I know for a fact that even in my own situation, right, I gain more enjoyment from just helping my father do something
Right.
than I would if I just earned a bunch of money and said, "Here, Dad, take this." Right? At the end of the day, it's the connection, that human emotion, that raw human emotion that refills our bucket.
Right.
Because we already got the weight of the world on our shoulders, right? So, sometimes we feel like as men, especially being the head of the household, we feel like we don't have an opportunity or we can't show that weakness, right? So, I think it's just a situation where I'm happy that you have been able to enjoy some of these, these things that we chase, because we all chase these things. So, it's guys out there that they didn't have theirs ripped away from them.
Yes.
So,
I want to say something. You said connection,
right?
And that was, that word it just stuck to me. And like I said, connection can go a lot of ways. And like I said, it goes with the family. It can go, with your colleagues, your employees or friends. But my connection is with insurance. So my insurance connection goes through it goes a lot of ways that you can be connected. We can be connected from auto insurance, homeowners insurance, if you have a business insurance, life insurance, investments. There's a million ways that we could connect and build and trust. Because one thing that we know, and I'm pretty sure you're aware of, the trust in our community is minimum. And what I mean by that is,
agreed.
We don't feel like we can always put our money with our own communities, and it will profit or benefit, because we don't, like I said, the trust.
Right.
That's the main thing. It goes like, and I'll give you an example. I come to you, say, "Hey, Charles, I got this life policy. I can sell you. I run your quote, $200,000. It'll be $45 a month." And I'm just giving examples. So I don't want to misinform no one, but I'm just using an example. And I tell you, it's $45 a month, and then you look at me normally, and you question me, like, if I give you this $45, like, would it really go towards the policy, or is it gonna benefit you? So, like I said, when we can trust each other, it basically helps us build our community. It helps us educate our own selves with things that we're not aware of. Right. And insurance is, like I said, there's benefits to the insurance. One thing that I like, which my father introduced with insurance, was the life insurance aspect of it. And a lot of people don't look at life insurance until the health changes.
Right.
And that's not the way I look at it. There's benefit with life insurance, and there's benefit you can use while you're living.
And see, I think that's probably one of the major things that keeps us from, using that as a piece of structure to help our families and communities.
Right.
Because like I said, what I thought about life insurance, right? Life insurance. You start hearing people talk about life insurance. It seemed like some people
plan it for you to die. Some people think it's a setup. Right. Like, why are you putting life insurance on me?
Right.
Am I about to die?
Right.
But we have to understand, in life insurance, it's like anything else we do. We're just being proactive.
Right.
And being proactive doesn't mean you're going to die tomorrow. But if it's something were to happen, we have something in place where it does not affect the family. And normally the way it affects the family is financially.
Right.
And that's one of the things that should be the last thing to worry about, if death happens, because we all have that expiration date.
And when I see people pass away and they have those issues, most of the time those issues are stemming from stuff that they want to do for the person who has recently passed.
Correct.
Like, we're talking about clearing up certain debts that are passed on to your family members, because there are certain debts that are passed on to people who tag themselves to you, wives, long-time girlfriends, all that type of stuff. Common law kicks in, all kind of stuff, and they start messing with the person that like, hey, wait a minute, I had nothing to do with this.
Exactly.
But you were around benefiting from it.
Exactly.
So, you know, but I think, and this is just me outside looking in, right? But I think that most guys are not really hip to the idea of insurance because they don't know about all of the benefits that come along with it. And it's like you always hear people talk about the benefits, but they never tell us what those benefits actually are.
Right.
I recently got the opportunity to sit down and talk to a couple people about, you know, some insurance stuff, and you know, they were telling me that there are some things that you can do to align with your business.
Right.
Like borrowing against your insurance policy.
Yes.
And stuff like that. You know, it's like the way one girl explained it to me, and I don't know if she's correct on this, right? But I didn't do my research, so but I heard it, so I'm gonna put it out there. But what she was saying is that up to a specific amount that's outlined in your policy, it kind of operates as a secondary loan account structure type deal where you can pull money off of the insurance policy to cover certain things while you're living.
So the way I explain that, and she is correct, the person you spoke to, that is correct. So the way I explain it to simplify it is I compare it to a mortgage. Mm-hmm. When you pay a mortgage, it builds equity.
Right.
Same thing as the insurance, a life insurance. So, but I guess let me break it down a little bit further, because there's two policies you can purchase. Mm-hmm. You have your term policy, but that doesn't come with that only come with death benefits. So that's not the cash value policy. So the policy that's the cash value will be your whole life. That's the policy that builds the cash value. After so many years, you can borrow out for that. But, you know, a lot of time we don't see that because we want the money. We want the money now. But we have to understand, when your mortgage, when you have equity in the mortgage, that's interest off of it. So you have to understand the first year, how do you have interest off a minimum payment? So it has to build. So it's like I said, it can be an investment. The more you put into it, the more cash value it accumulates. And so after 10, 15 years, that's when you will see the growth of the money, if you're invested into that policy the correct way. But, you know, like I said, that's the benefit of it. You know, if you have children in college, that's money you can use. You know, it's available. But that's something that you have to start when they're young. That way, when they get 18, 19, the money is available. Right. And if you purchase a policy when they're young, where they have pretty much no health problems, that's when it's cheaper. Right. And a lot of times what we do is we wait until we have some type of illness. And at that point, you know, the older you get, the more problems you have, health problems. So if, like I said, being proactive, you took her when they were 6 months, 18-year-old, you have probably about $15,000, $20,000 that's available. And that can help. It can go a long way. That's a stress reliever. You know, if your mortgage, you 3 months behind on your house, that's another way. You about to lose a car, that's another way. You can look at it as a 401. Like I said, it's an investment. Right. And the money is available for you. But you have to understand that we have to make, the first thing is to start. Right.
And see, I think a lot of people are afraid of losing their money. Right. It's already hard to get it. Right. It's hard to get it. Most people will say, well, it's easy for me to get it. And that's because you figured it out. You found your niche.
Right.
And
exactly.
you found a space that people trust you in with giving you their money.
Right.
Right. Because it's hard. We all have to go to work. We all have to. And when we talk about that appreciation, right?
Right.
You know, talk about that appreciation, because it hurts. It's painful. You know, this is not, you know, one of those things where it's just like, oh, well, you know, unless you have to start first you got to figure it out.
Right.
Then you start. And then once you get to that level where you are a CEO, the scope is larger, but that doesn't mean that the work is less important.
Right, correct.
You know, but you just are compensated for much more because your position entails a whole lot more than people can even see. You know? It is what it is. So I don't want to get on here and get the line to people and making them feel like, okay, well, yeah, all you have to do is, that's the worst saying on the face of the planet.
No, it takes more than all you have to do.
Right.
Because if someone starts a sentence with all you have to do, 9 times out of 10, they're not doing it. And it's crazy because someone will come to you with those, you know, it sounds too good to be true deals. And like I said, all you have to do, and they don't even take their own advice.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more than all you have to do.
Right. It's just a fact of life.
Right. It's definitely a fact of life.
Right. So to get back to what I was saying on the people losing their money, right? I don't think they understand exactly what to do with these whole life insurance policies.
Right.
So they don't have the foresight to feel like it's something that they need, or they don't think it's a proper investment for where they are in life right now. You know, and I can say, guys, I do these because I want to give everybody an opportunity to catch some knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't have caught anywhere else. Because I don't know about any of you guys, right? But I have never attended a class in any institution that taught me any of these properties. Right? Why? Because they say that these teachings are the teachings that we miss out on from our parents while we out there in our 20s and our early teens doing craziness and jumping off of whatever, doing whatever we're doing, right? But the how to live structure is the home school teaching. Like, that's the part that comes from your household, and that's one of those properties that I talk about when I talk about being a man. Like, that really falls on your head. Like, back in the day, back in the 1800s in Europe, right, when guys would go to take a wife, they had this thing called a dowry, right?
Okay.
And what that was a sum of money or resources that the father would pass over to the potential suitor to make sure that he had the best opportunity to take care of his daughter, right? So that structure doesn't exist over here in America, right? So the best thing that we can do is give the knowledge, those opportunities, right? But it's not enough to just give it, right? It takes two parts. It's two parts to that. It takes two to tango in this situation, right? When we're talking about maintaining a family and growing something and building something, it takes two to tango. One person's got to teach. The other one has to be willing to learn, right? And that's what these are all about. Because sometimes we look at a person and we say, hey, that looks great. How did they get there? But nobody gets the opportunity to sit down and ask them why. So that's why we're here.
You're correct. Like you're saying, it starts with the parents.
Right.
And that's one of those, to me, that I just feel like it's, like you're saying, you don't get taught that in school.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing that's in our community that's informing us of the benefits or even the need of it. You know, it's, and like I said, if your parents aren't educated enough, you're going to be out here at 21, 22 years old and living life and not knowing that part. So it's just generation where it's continued to, where it's missed, where something has to give, where the buck had to stop, where, you know, someone had to say, I have to inform my own people, my own community of what this is called life insurance. And not even life insurance, even though that's important, just insurance in itself.
Right.
You know, car insurance. I heard people call my agency and tell me, well, I don't need insurance. I never had an accident. And it's like, Okay, well, like I said, it's proactive. If you do have an accident, you're protected. But, it's just one of those things that if you don't have the education of it, we're just going to remain ignorant with it. And it's okay, but it's also okay to understand what it is. So when I speak to people, I get this also where they tell me, well, you just want to make some money off of me. And I'll tell them this, you don't have to buy it from me. My job is just to educate you. And if I educate you where, even if you go to the insurance agent down the street, if you buy the policy, I did my job. Now, would I like the commission? Most definitely. But at the end of the day, if I can do something that's going to benefit someone else, it will come back to me.
Right. Me and my business partner, we have this saying, right? And every time we have a situation like that where we find ourselves having to explain why you should go with us, right? We tell ourselves, it's not that they don't have the money, they just don't mess with me.
Right. Oh.
You just don't trust me, or I haven't reached that level to where you feel like, okay, yes, I can take that chance and know that this guy's going to give me exactly what he promised me.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So now I spend a lot less time explaining the value of my work, and I've had a lot more time to show instead of tell. Right. And I think that, especially with the advent of social media, we've all had a lot more of an opportunity to show what we're able to do versus telling people. Right. Because you can see something that's valuable outright. You know it when you see it. When you open your eyes and it crosses your line of sight, you can tell when you walk into a space of value. Right. So
I agree.
I think it's one of those things that I don't even tell people to go get it from other people ever. I just, hey, good day, wish you the best, hope it works out for you. Because at the end of the day, we all know that you can't take love into the grocery store and pay with it, right?
No.
You can't take your feel-good moments into the store and pay for a new couch.
Right. Nah.
Right.
Not possible.
Right. Your mortgage company is not taking good deeds. If the mortgage company was taking good deeds, I would have 3 or 4 houses.
Oh,
right.
Because
starting out,
I think we all have multiple.
Right, starting out, you gotta do a lot of free work. To get to this point, I had to do a lot of free work, right? Yeah. So if I had the money for the free work that I was doing when I first started out, then my quality of my product would be much higher than it is now. Right. So we understand that in order to grow, it takes money. Everybody should understand that. And if you don't understand that, you either A, doing some illegal stuff, or B,
you're just being oblivious.
Right. So, people, I think, like I say, that's one of those things that really bothers me about specifically us in the Black community.
Right.
Is that sometimes we overlook each other because we don't think that they have the educational background to fill in the blanks for us. Mm-hmm. And especially if you come across somebody and you feel like, hey, I'm right where that person is, or you match yourself up to them, and you already have that measurement stick of who they are and who you think they are, because that's really where the problem comes in, is when you think somebody is something that they're not. You haven't spent the time talking to this person. You don't know, you can't see what this person went through to get to where they are, So I think that's where the issue comes in when it comes to sales. Now, there are some people who know how to remove themselves from that process at all.
Right.
Like, I got a friend of mine, I worked with him in security. I worked security for a long time, right? But we were working security sales together, right? And he would ask me, how did you learn to do this? I said, well, of course I had a mentor. right? I had somebody who taught me how to do this,
Right.
all right? But at the end of the day, I'm here to solve a problem that you need, even if you don't know you have that problem, you know? And what I normally tell people is, if you don't know you have the problem, go do it.
Right.
Like right now, get up and go do it. It's like when the first time you wake up in the morning and you walk outside and you step on a rock.
Right.
You say,
the reaction.
I need some shoes.
Right, the reaction.
You see what I'm saying? So we always say experience is the best teacher.
It is.
Right? But when it comes to those catastrophic mistakes that could be made, two types of situations that we go through in life, right? We have things that'll hurt you. Those are the learning experiences, right? And then we have things that'll cripple you, right? Those are the things that happen to you and you're not the same as you were before you went into them, i.e. trouble with the law or a bad relationship where you come out with an illegitimate or, you know, a wild situation where you wind up losing a limb or something like that. Now you can't write your write your name on a paper, you know, things like that, right? And I think that's where the strength of a man comes into play. And that's why it's like, it just warmed my heart to hear you talk about your kids, you know, because it sounds like they have that level of guidance to keep them from getting in those crippling situations and be able to flourish through the situations that could potentially hurt them. Yeah.
You know, it's easy. I'm going to say it's easy on my part. You know, when you have a father who was involved in your life, because we learn from our parents.
Right.
So, I don't know no other way. You know, I don't know how not to be there.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
I know what my dad was and who he was and what he did, and that's what I saw. And I knew how I felt. My dad, he's at my games. He's at award shows we having at the school, or any type of events. He's there. It's easy. It's easy to do what I do, you know, because I don't know how to be bad. I don't know how to be a deadbeat. I can imagine it, but I know if I don't support and provide for what I have, my conscience will eat at me.
Right.
You know, so I wouldn't be able to walk this earth knowing I have, I guess we could say dependents, but knowing I have children that are mine biologically, you know, not understanding. So, like I said, the path I had, the day-to-day operation I saw from my fathers, man, this is cakewalk.
Right. And see, that's the way you're supposed to do it. That's the way, because at the end of the day, like, your children, they only start out that way.
Right, exactly.
You know, as they get older, then they become more competent. And as they become more competent, well, then you run into a situation like you and your father had, to where it's like, now you are a help to me. Whereas before you were a dependent,
your liability.
I was taking care of you and hoping and praying that you didn't sneak away and do some mess that was gonna hurt us too bad. You know, but
see, we don't look at it, and children are a liability, because what do? You give them. We spend bukus of money on them. We try to, whatever they want, we try to make it happen.
Right. They're the ultimate risk.
Yeah.
They're the ultimate risk. And they can either really hurt you or really help you.
Right. So that's where I am with my son. You know, I was at a point where I felt like if the way I kept going, he wasn't going to learn to be his own man.
Right.
And what I mean by that is when he fell into trouble, and I don't mean like legally or, you know, with something where it just didn't go his way, I felt like I had to always be the one to fix it. And then I had to think about it. If I continue to fix his problems, you know, when would he ever be his own independent person, man? So that's where bringing him into the business and letting him see what goes on and understand that just because it doesn't go your way doesn't mean it's not going to work.
Right.
You know, and just because it doesn't go your way don't mean that we automatically get mad or we automatically get upset and quit or find something else.
And see, that's one of those things right there. I got to see. And what he's speaking about is discipline in self-control.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
That is another cornerstone value that is taught to you in the home. It's one of the main reasons why your fathers in the household are super important.
They matter.
Right? Because at the end of the day, can you imagine where your family would be if your dad got mad and just quit work? He just said, you know what? I'm not going to work no more. Everybody got to eat at the house. I'm just not going to do it because he made me mad. Just think about how much doo-doo your daddy had to eat raising you.
Man.
Right? And when you think about that, when you think about that, you start to gain a deep appreciation for who your parents were. And like I say, experience is the best teacher. I'm going to tell you when I figured it out and I was like, okay, my pops I've never seen him not go to work. I don't think this man has ever missed a day of work.
Right.
Like this nigga, he didn't have perfect attendance for his whole life. But I always admired that about him. And it was one of those things that I try to build into me as a person. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to say it, but monkey see, monkey do. That was my greatest example, right, for what it meant to be a man, right? And he was one of those that did have the foresight to make sure that we were taken care of, right? He just didn't forget to teach us along the way.
Right.
So
I feel my clock or my when it hit me where it's like, okay, I think I need to step up. My father got sick. And I always just looked at it as me just being an employee at the business. So I never thought of the ins and outs. But when he became sick and he became pretty ill, and that's when it hit me where and the thought was, if my father passed, would this business flourish? And that was something that struck a chord. And I thought about that for a couple of days. And then that's when it hit me where I had to get to myself, isolation, and we got to figure this out.
right.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, what is your job now? You just you do okay. You're making a little money, and that's how I'm looking. I make a little money. I can pay my own bills. My dad doesn't support me, but if God forbid he leaves, I mean, what's gonna happen? You know, I don't know how to run a business. You know, I didn't know the ins and outs of running a business. I just knew how to sell insurance.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you have to have someone who can take care of the business where it runs without a problem. And I never saw what he did. But like I said, when he became ill, that's when my eyes opened and I had to dig into, okay, what does it take for me to understand how to run this business if my father's not here on day-to-day operations? Just like you said with your father, my dad worked 24/7.
Man,
My dad worked 20 jobs. I know my dad. He opened an insurance agency. He was a substitute teacher. He was a coach. Whatever he had to do, he gonna figure it out.
right.
So, like I said, it's just one of those. Like, how do you not follow in that path? You know, because then you see what it does. With him going to work every day, he was able to pass down something they started, and he still lives a life that he still was living.
Right.
You know, he doesn't work. He doesn't work for the business at all, but he still lives the life he was living as if he was the agent.
Right.
So that's always been my thing with him was, I'm gonna make sure that you can still live the life that you built. because you're retired doesn't mean that you we're regressing. No, you're still going to enjoy it. Now it's time to live better.
Right.
Because you're at the age now, my dad is 70. You're at the age now where, life, you have more days behind you than in front of you. And what I mean by that is, we're all not going to be here forever, but enjoy what you have. And right now, with you retire, you don't want the stress. You want your house paid for. You want your vehicles paid for. Your bills are minimum. You only have utility bills. Your gas, water, your electricity. But other than that, you living a life that you always wanted. My dad is going to the Bahamas tomorrow. Yeah. This is what he lives. He's been, like I said, he's been retired 2 years. One thing that I noticed that he's traveling. So once a month he's traveling. And I always tell my father, enjoy your retirement, because we know how long do people last when they retire. From my research, it's 3 to 5 years.
Right.
Because what you do is you do something every day for however many years, and then it stops.
Right. I'm an avid gym goer. Like
right.
I'm in the gym every day I have an opportunity to.
Right.
The only thing that stops me from going to the gym nowadays is my business. That's
Correct.
it. If I'm not here at this studio doing some type of work, I'm in the gym.
Right.
Right. And I got that way because I was talking to a older dude when I first started fighting MMA. I was like young. I'm talking about like 28, 29, somewhere in there. I'm feeling young. I'm 40 now. Right. So I'm feeling young.
Right.
I'm old enough to do and know better, right? But still young enough to play the young men's games. Right. So he told me that when it comes to men, the reason why they live so long is because they stay active.
Right.
They find something that they love and they stay active in it, because the actual number one killer of men is it's not what most people would think. Most people think it's going to be like some weird stuff like high blood pressure or something like that.
That's what I was.
Right. But no, what actually kills us faster than anything on the face of the planet is going to be, and when I say this, y'all will probably be like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Because it's just something that we overlook, but it is super duper important. And that number one killer of all men is inactivity. Nothing will kill you faster than becoming inactive. So, yeah.
That's correct.
You got to stay active.
That's correct.
And that's why
100%.
That's why Paw get up and go to work every day. That's why, every single day he get up and go to work, because he knows in the back of his mind that if he doesn't keep his mind going, if he doesn't keep active, that little bit of getting up and going to work or whatever it is, that's what's sustaining us.
Right.
So
you have something to look forward to.
Right.
If you don't have something to look forward to, then you just kind of waking up and trying to figure. I had a customer tell me yesterday that you said this. She's retired, and she said, "I don't know what to do." And the first thing she asked me, "What do you do when you retire?" I said, "What makes you happy? Right. Find something that makes you happy, where you can get up and go do that. If it's pottery, if it's knitting, if it's working out, if it's drawing, whatever it helps your heart beats faster, excitement. Find something that makes you happy." And I said, and if it makes you happy, that's your niche. But sitting at home, that's not going to happen because your mind closes in, and then eventually, that's it.
Yeah, you shut down.
So you have to. That's a fact. You have to remain active,
right,
in order to continue to have longevity with your life.
Right.
Because if not, if you're inactive, the body becomes inactive, the mind becomes inactive. Once the mind goes, the body follows.
Right.
And then once that happens, we know where we are. So
Right.
And I tell my dad this. I said, once I notice you're not moving correctly, you're coming back to work.
Right.
We're not going to sit around doing nothing.
Right.
That's one thing we're not going to do. So that's the perfect way to put it. Well, like I said, it's not even the perfect way. That's just the reality of it. If you're inactive,
yep.
basically,
Now,
you shorten your days.
The guy that told me this, he was 80 years old. And he in the gym working out just as hard, if not harder than us. He actually was teaching us stuff.
Right.
So we in there trying to do the muscle ups, and I have never been able to do a muscle up. I just can't do a muscle up. My skill set, I got a different skill set.
Right.
Right. So, but he in there trying to teach us how to do this, and we just like,
like how?
Right. Like, how are you doing this? And he say, my secret is staying active. I'm always active. He say, as soon as you sit down, as soon as you start to stand still, that's when you die.
And that is mental. So his mental is strong.
Right.
And that's why I was saying earlier, what you put in your head, your mind doesn't know how it's going to grow. If it's negative, it's just going to grow negative. Whatever you put in, if it's positive, it's going to be positive. But whatever you put your mind to, that's what it's going to do. So if you tell yourself you're not going to do it, like a lot of people, like at the end of the year, everybody has a New Year's resolution of what? Working out.
Working out.
And how long does that last?
For some people,
I don't think a lot of people make a month out of it.
Right.
It'll be because the thing about it is it's a challenge also.
Right. And see, and it's like that's the one thing I be wanting everybody to understand, right? Is that when you look at that guy and he's built up and he muscly, right? You got to understand that shit hurt.
That's work.
It hurts, right? It's right.
That's
it
work
hurts.
he put into that.
Right.
He go there in 2 days and they come out looking like Incredible Hulk. No, he went to work.
Right.
And that, like I said, that's a mindset.
Right. So it's one of those things that just like, people are unwilling to accept it. I'm not here to force it down your throat. I'm not here to,
No.
I just, you just got to be willing to make. Today's golden word is going to be sacrifice. It's the reason why we know and love all of our fathers is because they made the sacrifice.
Most definitely.
Right?
Now, you saying that, and I'm going to let you get back to, but I want to say it before I forget.
Go ahead.
That's the year that we have in my household. We call this year sacrifice year.
Right. Oh, I know exactly what that is. I know exactly what that is.
I didn't mean to cut you on that, but I just wanted to throw that out before it leaves my mind. But that's where we are, 2026. We're sacrificing. And what I mean by that is we spend minimum as possible.
Right.
So everything is we're gonna go get it. This is our figure out year. We're gonna figure this out.
Right.
But we're gonna sacrifice and basically get away from the things that we did, the habits.
Right.
That we're accustomed to doing. Like eating lunch. Going out on lunch, we go eat. Okay, we have food at home.
Right.
We got to start cooking. We have to bring our lunch now. Meal prep, however you want to do it, but it's a sacrifice.
Right.
And one thing I tell my children is a sacrifice is doing something you don't want to do.
Right.
I mean, that's not the verbatim definition, but that's as plain as I can put it. It's doing something you don't want to do. What is the diet? It's a sacrifice.
Right.
Eat food you don't like.
Right. The sacrifice. the sacrifice happens inside and it's against your wants.
Right.
And
right.
I'm a pretty biblical man, pretty religious man, But when I think of sacrifice, I always think of Jesus Christ dying on the cross for us.
Correct. That is the biggest sacrifice.
Ultimate sacrifice.
Ultimate.
Right. Throughout the whole time he was carrying that cross, he was saying he did not want to do this.
Right.
All right. So out of his own mouth, he said he died doing. I don't want to do this, but I know I got to.
And, and the benefit of what it's going to do for me, sacrifice.
Right.
And like I said, that's great. That's the word of the day. Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
And if you don't understand what it is, look it up. Simple term is doing something that you don't want to do.
Right.
And if you but if you want it, you would sacrifice. Because the sacrifice, the reason we're sacrificing because what we want.
Right.
No, the finances is what I want.
Right.
So in order to get to where I want to get to, I need to make sure that the foundation is being laid correctly. That way, once we start building the house, it's going to go up.
It's going to stay there.
And it's going to be as high as we want it to be.
Right.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories, however, 3, 4, 5,000 square feet. That's where we're going. So the sacrifice is here. And so I love it because if you can sacrifice and then if you see where it is, that once you get to the point where you sacrifice, that testimony is the greatest thing that you can give anybody.
Right.
So, man, I love it. Sacrifice. It's the best way to go in order to get where you want to be.
Right.
If you like you say, if you want to look like that bodybuilder, the sacrifice is putting in the work. You have to eat. You have to go to bed right. You drink. You drink right. You cut out certain things. I mean, that's how it works.
Right.
Now he's still not eating double cheeseburgers and fries and milkshakes every day and going to the gym. No. He eat vegetables. And I'm not saying you can't eat it.
Right.
But it has to be proportioned. Right. And it has to be in a way where it's not consistent, where we're doing it on a day-to-day operation where I'm going to eat a burger every day, but I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to run 4 miles. We're not going to help ourselves because you're just staying level.
Right.
And that's not the sacrifice. The sacrifice is cutting out that's hurting.
Right.
So everything that tastes good, that's what a diet is to me. I tell my kids that.
Right.
So what do we diet? I said we're gonna eat whatever that tastes good. Whatever we like, we're not gonna eat it.
Right.
And it's like, huh? Yes.
Yeah.
And that means we're gonna eat vegetables now, no fried food, bread is out, no sweets, no sodas, no juice. But you implement and replace it with things that can help. Right. If you have to have chips, it has to be something with low calorie, low ingredients.
Right.
But it can work, but you have to sacrifice.
Right. And I picked that word for today because of the nature in the business that my guest works in, right? One of the major things that I picked up while talking to him is that life insurance is not a throwaway. It's not something that makes somebody else richer while I am struggling to stay afloat.
No.
It's not something that puts the agent in a better position while leaving me struggling, waiting for my own rise to occur. It feels and sounds like life insurance is another one of those good, strong sacrifices that should be made to preserve the health and honor of your family. Don't look at it as someone trying to sell you a situation that's going to be end all be all, super close, fast, in a hurry, get rich quick type scheme. Right. Or no, it's not a situation where you are trying to work the system, right? It's a situation where you get out of it what you put into it.
Correct.
Right? And if you don't understand how it can help you, then chances are you probably need to sit down with Ken Allen Insurance and figure it out.
Yes, sir.
Because we all here to help each other, right?
Correct.
So let's get on in there and figure it out together. All right, y'all. We're going to give Mr. Ken an opportunity to let us know where we can find him.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the business is Ken Allen Insurance. Agency, we're located at 222 West Pleasant Run Road. That's Suite 102, Lancaster, Texas, 75146. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. You can visit the website, KenAllenInsurance.net. Phone numbers, addresses located anywhere. You can reach us by phone, email, walk-ins. However, we're available 24/7. So if you're looking for insurance, all kind. We offer home, auto, life, commercial, bonds, annuities. We offer it all. We're a one-stop shop. So we call ourselves the insurance store, meaning that we shop your insurance for you. So if you're ever in need of insurance, contact Ken Allen Insurance. Like I said earlier, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook at Ken Allen Insurance. And we have our own website, kenalleninsurance.net. Please, I ask you, educate yourself on insurance. Educate yourself on insurance. And if you are in need of an agent, please contact Ken Allen Insurance Agency.
All right, y'all. This has been another episode of Dallas Spotlight, where we actually take a peek into some of the most affluent people in the area. Some of these people you might not know. Some of these people you might see every day. But like I say, if you're looking to peer into the minds of some of the good, strong, working people out there, look no further than this platform right here. Same place, same platform, different look. All right, y'all. We out.
Yes, sir.